A man found in a nearby city is facing charges for illegally re-entering the country. As you can see behind me, crews are responding to a house fire here on 5th and Grand Avenues. Donors say they weren't expecting this kind of April when they were planning the opening of the building. As Eau Claire's aging population grows, the fire department says it's responding to an increasing number of calls at nursing homes. What's nice is that your phone automatically updates for you, even though every other
your car
device doesn't.
And your oven.
As the storm cleanup continues in Barron and Rusk counties, volunteers were in the hundreds. As you can see, police are still on scene actively investigating the situation. And if we take a look kind of back farther there, you can see the Marathon County Bomb Squad. The due date for paying the first installment of 2017 Eau Claire property taxes is approaching. While fans are getting ready to watch the big game, local restaurants are getting ready to help feed them.
Obviously, April showers should mean rain showers.
Right, except it was snow flowers this year. Right. Unfortunately. We're actually going to meet one of the athletes here. We have Katie Gravitt. Katie, you have volunteered at this event before. Can you tell us a little bit about what your favorite part is?
Filling up the gas.
Many questions are surrounding how Foxconn's move into southeast Wisconsin will impact the local community. WEIU's Taj Mahal joins us from the newsroom with answers from state officials. Tajma? The La Crosse area man convicted of killing his wife will serve life in prison, but will be eligible for parole. WEIU's Zach Preletsky was in the courtroom this morning and has details on the sentencing for Todd Kendhammer. Todd Kendhammer will be 77 years old when he first becomes eligible for parole. An Eau Claire man who escaped handcuffs and stole a squad car has now been charged. 25-year-old Joshua Robertson is facing several charges, including repeated offenses of identity theft and obstructing an officer. According to the complaint, on January 28th, Robertson and a female passenger were pulled over for excessive speeding and tinted windows. A drug search led to the discovery of 2 pounds and $40,000 of crystal meth in the vehicle. Both were arrested, but while Robertson was alone in the back of the cruiser, he was able to move his handcuffs in front of him and get into the driver's seat of the car. The vehicle was found 8 miles away, but police didn't find Robertson until 2 days later. One woman is arrested after a child tests positive for meth. It happened in Blair on February 24th. 34-year-old Melissa Johnson was arrested after police were called to the home for a welfare check. When they arrived, they found 8 grams of meth and other drug paraphernalia within reach of 3 young children. A test was done on one of the children, and the child tested positive for meth. Johnson is facing charges of possession of meth, child neglect, and endangerment. Police continue to investigate after reports of a suspicious person trying to get into a Bloomer school. Bloomer police say they're looking for a person who was trying to get into St. Paul's Catholic School on Tuesday. Witnesses say the person was dressed in all black and wearing a ski mask. Police say they were unable to find anyone matching the description when they arrived. 2 student witnesses say the person had ran away when they saw them. Anyone with information is asked to call the Bloomer Police Department. Another Eau Claire school plans to participate in a school-wide walkout. In a press release sent out Friday, students from Eau Claire North High School plan to walk out on March 14th at 10 a.m. The walkout is planned to last for 17 minutes in honor of the 17 people killed in Florida. Organizers say the protest is nonpartisan and it is a silent and peaceful protest. A popular transportation service is looking to jump into the healthcare industry to help patients get to their doctor's appointments. WEIU's Katarina Vergara is here with more on a new program. Katarina? Thanks, Katarina. The Olympics might be over, but curling fever here in the Chippewa Valley isn't going anywhere. The Eau Claire Curling Club is hosting the 2018 USA College Curling Championships this weekend at the Eau Claire County Exposition Center. The top 16 college curling teams from around the United States are invited each year to the national championship. This is the first time the club has ever hosted the event. Organizers say everyone is welcome to come watch. The event will run through the weekend with matches happening all day Saturday and Sunday, and an award ceremony beginning around 9:30 Sunday night. Coming up, how losing an hour of sleep is going to affect your kids. We'll have some tips on keeping them on track over the weekend. You're watching WEIU 13 News at 6.
I found him outside. And I couldn't believe it. I just, threw myself over him and just was falling hysterically. I don't know why I said call 911 because I knew he wasn't alive anymore.
That was 6 years ago. And every year on March 5th, Christine Huth of Fairchild hopes the sun will be shining as she tries to make it through the day.
It feels like yesterday. Unfortunately, the vision doesn't go away with the grief journey. And some days it's more rough than others. Other days you can pedal on through.
Her son, Nick, was 18 when he died. While he's not physically with her, she keeps him close to her heart every day.
This is the last birthday picture. It was taken, and it's just one of my favorites because he always had on that Under Armour Badger sweatshirt, and he always had on his white Under Armour hat.
She says Nick was an outgoing kid that loved sports cars and loved to laugh. Nick had missed some school due to health problems, and the night before returning to school, Christine says her last words to her son.
I just said, you know, I'm so proud of you. You're going to buckle down. You're going to get this done and catch up. And he's like, yeah, I know, Mom. I will.
Christine says she had talked to her son about suicide prevention, so she was shocked when she woke up the next morning and he was gone.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. Because we had talked 2 weeks prior about it. About, you know, suicide prevention. So it was a subject that was brought up. And I just couldn't believe, because he said he would never do it. And yet he did.
According to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death for 15 to 34-year-olds in Wisconsin. And men die by suicide nearly 4 times more than women.
There's another word for suicide that I like even better, and that's penticide. And that word means the killing of pain. And that's what somebody is really trying to do.
Amy Segerstrom is the coordinator of the Healing Place, and that's where she met Christine, helping her try to understand why.
People often struggle with, why did this happen? Why did it happen? Why didn't they tell me? You know, why didn't they come to me? Because I have yet to hear of a case where somebody didn't know that they were loved by their family. They know they're loved. They honestly believe that I'm a burden to my family, and I'm actually relieving my family of that burden.
Health experts say research has shown that there are typically signs, but that's not always the case.
Yes, I did find it a little bit embarrassing because that I felt like a failure as a parent. What did I do wrong that he did this? But through the acceptance and the grieving process, I've come to realize I didn't do anything wrong. I was just being a mom, raising my child.
While the wintertime does tend to get people down, experts say that it's a common misperception that suicide occurs more in the winter months. It actually peaks in the springtime, May through August. But suicide is not a time-sensitive topic. Local health experts say you should not be afraid to have that conversation.
It's not something people talk about publicly, and even in the obituaries, people typically don't list that their loved one died by suicide. And you know, there is a stigma associated with a suicide death, I think, because people do feel that sense of guilt. You know, suicide is the tragic end result of somebody that has some kind of mental illness going on in over 90% of the cases.
While each day may have its ups and downs, Christine has found a new way to help her grieve. She started the Suicide Survivor Group nearly 2 years after her son's death in April of 2015, which meets twice a month.
It's like another family. It's like having a third family.
Like members of this group, experts say talking about suicide prevention is key to helping more people.
You know, don't sweep it under the rug, don't ignore it, to ask them how they're feeling and even ask direct questions.
Already this year, there have been a total of 4 deaths by suicide in Eau Claire and Chippewa counties. Last year, numbers show 18 people died in Eau Claire County because of suicide, and in Chippewa County, there were 11. But there are several opportunities for help. While it may feel a little embarrassing to reach out, Segerstrom says as humans, we are meant to connect with one another over our joys and our pains.
Don't walk this journey alone.
As Christine continues to work through her journey, she says her son's memories will never fade.
One of my memories that just sits with me is us two jamming out, driving down the road. It just, you know, I'm bouncing around. It's just one of those things that just, if I'm feeling sad, I focus on that memory because it just makes me smile.
And says she hopes to help others in any way she can.
I now will smile at everybody I walk past, because you don't know if that person is having a really bad day and they might be contemplating. And you just smiling at them might make the difference.
We cried a lot.
On March 7th, 2017, Chris Niles of Eau Claire was found unresponsive.
You were living your life normally, and then this happened, and then it's a blur.
Yes.
After that.
Yes.
Chris suffered from the deadliest kind of stroke with bleeding in his brain, and he was only 34 years old, leaving his family with a life or death decision, which his mother Bonnie says was the most difficult moment.
Christopher has always been one of the most determined people I have ever met.
And because of that, Chris is now in outpatient therapy 1 year later.
Oh, yes. long journey.
Well, March 7th marks the 1 year anniversary that Chris was brought through these doors. His family's choosing not to look at this as a day of sadness, but a day of celebration.
A celebration that he's still with us. It could have gone so terribly wrong if he hadn't been found when he did.
While some parents only get to see their kids take their first steps once in their lives,
with each thing that he could do, it was like I never thought I'd see it again.
Chris is now back walking, talking.
I can drive. That's one thing.
Health experts say the average age someone has a stroke is 67, and it's because Chris was so young, therapists say it helped his recovery.
Typically, actually, we see the outcomes are better on our younger patients, so getting that intensive therapy right out the gate really helps improve outcomes for a younger person like Chris.
But Chris has never lost his determination.
One of the things that I always talk to family and the stroke patient about is that their attitude will make or break them. And so I always encouraged Chris to have a positive attitude.
While his road to recovery is not over, Chris says his next goal is only getting closer each day.
Yeah, more independent. Yes, more independence.
Support for veterans is pouring out across the country this week as we approach Veterans Day on Saturday. But local veterans say support is something they depend on every day.
Well, many people have a neighbor, a friend, a classmate, or even a family member who has served our country. Truly understanding and supporting them when they come back from war can be difficult to understand. WEAU's Abigail Hantke met with local veterans to talk about the disconnect and shares their stories.
Now, how long have you guys been married?
9.5 years.
Just about to say that.
It's been a tough road for the Hanrahans, transitioning back to a different normal in Black River Falls after Kevin's time in the military.
We all kind of got in together.
Kevin, who served in the Marines, spent 3 years in a hospital after getting hurt in Afghanistan, with his wife Whitney by his side.
Somebody, said one time he's just missing a leg and he can make it to this stuff, or he can go in his wheelchair, but I'm like, it's not just that, he also has a brain injury. He also has PTSD.
It's natural for anybody to try to relate to somebody. I've been walking through the store before and people come up and say, oh, like I have an uncle that's missing a leg, not knowing how I lost it.
The couple says making the transition back from their military family to a life in the woods is difficult at times because you're surrounded by people that can't understand the experience.
People don't realize that there's still guys on the ground fighting the fight, and that plays into the fact that people just don't understand really what's going on.
Like your pain, what you've gone through. I've slept at the hospital with you for 3 straight months, like every night in a chair. So it's like I've seen what you've gone through to protect this country.
Adam Coles with the Veterans Office, an Army veteran deployed twice, says today only 1% of the American population is active duty, creating a sort of subpopulation across the states.
Yeah, I'd say there's a disconnect.
Coles, who has seen and experienced firsthand veterans and their families trying to make the transition back home, says that transition is not always easy.
In the military, you're taught how to adapt, basically, in every situation. So you it's hard to turn it off, yet you use the same skills you have in the military to kind of adapt back to civilian life. But there's a few bumps and things that they just don't turn off.
Especially leaving behind what they knew as normal for what the majority of the nation considers a normal life.
Hit the second time, and I ended up driving a truck.
While coming home from war may sound like a good thing, the welcoming back for veterans has not always been positive. Vietnam War veterans Edward Michaels and Dan Ziegler say the change in support they've seen since they returned has been a complete 180.
I've had more people come up to me and thank me for being a veteran than the day I did come home, the day I was just about ready to get back on the plane and go back over where I came from.
Again, that was 50 years ago, and things have changed quite a bit. I guess as old veterans now, we're accepted.
And with Veterans Day around the corner,
thank a veteran out there, you know, even when it's not Veterans Day. They appreciate it.
While all of the veterans I spoke with say there's never a wrong time to thank a vet, whether it's a simple thank you, buying them a cup of coffee, or even just spending some time with them. While you may only see the physical side just passing by a veteran, you never truly know what they've been through. I'm Abigail Hantke, WEIU 13 News. For several hours Wednesday, families were able to come and get or try and find items from the site that they once called their home. Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald walked around the site with Governor Walker Wednesday afternoon, speaking with those families. According to the sheriff, there are 38 of 54 homes that were destroyed. One person has been confirmed to be in critical condition. 16 others were transported to local hospitals. Community members, though, have been showing tremendous support, helping their neighbors get back on their feet.
Response again has been tremendous. At one point last night, over 200 first responders, law enforcement personnel, fire department members were on scene. I just want to give out a special thanks to Mosaic Telecom for their assistance with the emergency shelter. They are here if anybody has questions for them.
But it's really been about recovery efforts all day throughout Barron County, recovering home goods, pictures, clothing, and even animals. We spoke with several people who say they're still missing cats and dogs and other pets. In fact, there was a rescue of a pet rabbit at Prairie Lake Estates mobile home. That's where we've reported in our continuing coverage that several homes were destroyed. Earlier this afternoon, we spoke with Cynthia Rutledge, who says she became trapped inside her home after a wall fell on top of her in the park when she saw other homes being lifted off their bases last night. Rutledge says she suffered a blow to the back of her head and arm injuries before her home was destroyed during the tornado. Now Rutledge says she is fearing for her husband Douglas's life.
3 busted vertebrae in his neck and 2 in his back. And he's got he had bleeding of the brain, and they relieved that last night.
As piles of debris are now sitting throughout the county, we also saw a huge response from community members who are stepping up and helping those in need. We also spoke with a man from Bloomer who is offering food and water to those displaced, and the Red Cross has been here assisting as well. For now in Barron County, Abigail Hantke, WEIU 13 News.